Hello. In this short video, I am going to talk to you about what it means to understand the mean. First, the mean is located between the extreme values. What this means is that the extreme values are the highest and the lowest number. So if the mean is not between the highest and the lowest value of a data set, then you've done something wrong. It has to be between them. Next one talks about the mean is influenced by values other than the mean. What this means is that the mean is dependent upon all the other values in the data set. And that ties along with the next one. The mean does not necessarily equal one of the values that was summed. So if you are finding the mean and it's not one of your values that you have in your data set, that's okay. And in fact, that's how most of them are going to be. The next one, the mean can be a fraction, or more likely that you're going to use is a decimal. Then it talks about if you have a value of 0, you have to use it. You cannot ignore it. You have to use it. And the last one there, the mean is a representative of the values that were averaged of all the values in the data set. So it has, if you can only have one number to represent all the numbers in the data set, the mean is trying to be an average representative, an average number. Alright, let's move on to solving some. So determine the mean and median of the given set of numbers. So we add them all up first, and we get 25. So the next thing I do is to count them up. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers. Well, 25 divided by 10 gives us an answer of 2 5/10. So that tells me that the mean is 2 5/10. Now to the median. Median, we start by crossing off from the outsides. So we start with 1 and 5, and then 1 and 4, and so on, until we end up with 2 and 2 in the middle. So this is an example of when we have two numbers in the middle. Remember, when you have two numbers in the middle, you simply find the mean of these two numbers. Well, the mean of 2 and 2 is going to be 2. So the median here is 2. So in this data set, the mean is 2 5/10, and the median is 2. So now let's analyze what happens when you add new numbers to the data set. So what happens when you added 2? Well, again, we can just find the mean. Now we don't need to add all these numbers up. We've already done that, and we know that answer is 25. So we just do 25 plus 2, and we get 27. Then we do the division. 27 divided by 11 gives me 2 45/100. So now the mean is 2 45/100. Well, the mean was lowered, or it got smaller, when we added the 2. And when you think about it, that makes sense, because the mean was 2 5/10. We added a number that was lower than that. So when you recalculate the mean, it's going to make the mean decrease. So, now it's your turn. Go ahead and pause the video and solve this problem. Okay, you will be putting your answer in on the computer when it's time. So now let's move on. What happens when we add the numbers 2 and 3 to the data set? Again, we don't have to add up these 10 numbers again. We already have that sum. It's 25. So we simply do 25 plus 2 plus 3, and we get 30. So now we divide. There were 10 numbers. I added 2. So now there are 12. So we do 30 divided by 12, and we get 2 5/10. So the mean is still 2 5/10. So the mean has not changed at all. And if you look at this one, you have 2 and 3. Well, 2 is 5/10 below 2.5, and 3 is 5/10 above 3.5. So if you add two numbers that are identically the same distance or the same amount away from the mean will not change. So now it's your turn. I want you to choose two numbers. Don't use 2 and 3. So again, pause the video now. Okay, you'll be entering in your answer again on the computer when it's time. Alright, let's move on. What happens when we add a number that is very different from our data set? So let's happens when we add 30 here. Well, again, we can add them up, so we take the sum of the first 10, which is 25, and we add 30, and now we have 55. And we do our division. 55 divided by 11 is 5. And now the mean is 5. Well, let's take a look at that. We have 5 as the mean, but all the numbers are 5 or below besides that one number, besides that 30 that we added. So this is what happens. 30 would be called an outlier because it's so much larger than all the rest of the numbers. Outliers can be larger numbers, much larger numbers, or much smaller numbers. So if all of our data set was in the 40s and someone added a 10, that would be considered an outlier. They're numbers that are very different than the data set. When we have numbers like this, like an outlier, we usually don't use the mean to represent an average number. We use either the median or the mode. So here, if we find the median, we find that the median is 2. And if we look at the mode, we see that 2 appears 4 times, which is more than any other number. So the median and the mode are both 2. In this case, the median and the mode are much better representatives of this data set than 5. And that's all because of the outlier. Alright, one last time, I want you to find two numbers that can be added that change the mean, but not the median. And then explain how you do this. This concludes the video. You'll be entering in your answers on the computer.